So my mom was an excellent cook, and especially around the holidays, she always filled our house with wonderful Christmas smells of cookies and pies. She was an excellent pie maker. She made one of the best coconut cream pies. I still love it to this day. Um, and of course, we were Catholic and we were very tied to the priest and the nuns at our church as far as, we did a lot with the community there. And so every Christmas, Mom would make pies or cakes but usually pies for the nuns and sometimes for the priest. I don't know. I'm trying to remember why she didn't do it as much for the priest. But anyway, so every year she would make pumpkin pies, chocolate pie a lot of times, and coconut cream pies. And she would take the best of them to the nuns. And we would usually get the ones that didn't look as good. They were a little cracked and a little disfigured, maybe, but they were still wonderful. But this one year, she decided to make the pies. It was a busy year. I'm trying to remember what all was going on at the time. But she made her usual pies, got them up to the nuns. Everybody came over. That Thanksgiving was always a big time for the family to get together for dinner. And we had finished up dinner and it was time for the pies. And we were all so looking forward to it. Mom cut us the pies. We each decided, most of us got pumpkin. And as we bit into the pumpkin pies, it was like biting into a salt lick or something. It was such heavy salt flavor. And as Mom was sitting there, she was thinking, oh my gosh, I reversed the sugar and the salt ingredients on these pies. And then the next thought was, oh my gosh, I've sent all those pies up there to the nuns that were just salt pies. And yeah, at the moment she was very flustered with it and very kind of upset by it. I don't remember if she talked to the nuns or what she did after that as far as any kind of apology or anything. But she did laugh about it later on in later years. It made for a memorable holiday that will go down in history with us for a long time. So it was.
The sugar. I can imagine you got a lot of things going on. You've got kids still at home. I don't know how old you were.
Well, I
And
think it was a little later. I was a little older. It was probably, it could have been time around their anniversary when they were planning, um, they were planning for a trip and all kinds of stuff, but I don't remember exact, but yeah, life was always a little hectic around our house. And so I know that for a fact. I've made mistakes in cooking too, just by going too fast or too furious on it.
yeah, you're famous for doing the tablespoons instead of teaspoons of salt.
Yes, yes. So a few
That's
salty items myself.
any extra amount of salt is too much salt, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, hello, I'm Don,
And this is Gina.
and this is with Focused Healthy Family, and this is podcast number 85. And today we're talking about some holiday tips for parents and families. But before we go too far into it, we want to give some space for our sponsor.
Our sponsor is Q Sciences. I've been a representative for Q Sciences for over a year. I found this company through a friend and did some research and reading about these products. And I really liked what I found when I learned about them. The research and time that they've put into the quality of these products to be better absorbed into the body. Things like the vitamin D spray. Our youngest was on a capsule vitamin D, and yet vitamin D levels remained the same with follow-up checkups. And with the spray, it increased.
Increased pretty strong.
Almost double.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking her levels were maybe 20, and I think I want to say they went up to 47 or something around that range. And the sleep spray is another great one. It's got melatonin, 5-HTP, and I believe another herbal supplement in there. And because it's a spray, you spray it on your tongue, it gets absorbed more quickly into your body to be more effective to help you in the moment. We're using the B12 spray. We've used the vitamin C spray. They have a Q Max product, which is a multivitamin.
And they also have the CBD, different, a variety of different.
It's full spectrum
full
hemp
spectrum,
oils.
yes.
They even have a THC free version. It comes in different flavors. There is a mushroom
Oh yeah.
armor. It's called Q Armor. It's a powder, and I get the chai flavor. Put it in my chai tea for a double chai drink.
So instead of, as they say, flushing your supplements down, well, the toilet or the drain, you want to get something like this that's fully absorbed. It's like flushing money down the toilet too, if you're not using a supplement that absorbs well and does well for your body. So that's what Q Science is really about. It's a good, well absorbed, high nutrient product.
They have multiple products. They have child specific products. They now also have some facial cream products. I've been using a night cream to minimize the effects of sunlight and stress and aging on my skin. And they have a hemp lotion. That's also a wonderful product that we've tried. So check us out, learn more. You can find the link at our website,
www.focusedhealthyfamily.com. You can also go to focusedhealthyfamily.com/Q Sciences, the letter Q and Sciences.
with an S at the end.
With the S at the end, yes. And we're back. And so we
talk about the upcoming. We're in different
What?
places today, so we have to coordinate our speaking.
That's okay.
Is there a delay when I talk?
No, you're fine.
Oh, talking about the upcoming holidays, and I just want to say, no matter what holiday you celebrate or don't celebrate, it could be a matter of just getting together with family, going to a party, whatever it is. I've learned some new things about Thanksgiving and what really likely went down in the colonies.
Yeah.
And we won't get into that right now, but not everybody celebrates Thanksgiving, and there's different religious traditions and beliefs and non-beliefs and whatever. And so I just want to make this inclusive. So whatever you celebrate, if you don't celebrate anything at this time of year, maybe a birthday or sometime when you're getting together with a lot of people or you're traveling with people, these are all could apply to those situations. So Don's got the list.
Okay. Well, there's 10 different items here. We'll kind of talk about each. But the first one is really about planning events early and wisely, meaning really to getting everybody involved in it, not just one person deciding, but starting early. And then in that planning wisely, it's planning it out so that you don't overdo or overextend, but a lot of it is, oh, go ahead.
It's gotta be hard. You go off in your words and your thoughts and your eyes are up here. We need some signals, Don.
Yes.
Now I've lost my train of thought.
Here it comes.
Okay, so traditions can be wonderful. Having things that you do every year, and yet we need to look at the things that we do and say, is this something we're enjoying? Are we doing it because we feel like we have to do it? Does anyone in the family actually enjoy this activity? And so trying to decide, and this is a conversation you can have way ahead of time. What, we do these different things every year. What's your favorite? Finding out from each kid, from your partner, yourself, and thinking about your time and the other things you have going on, and trying not to overschedule yourself. Looking at what matters most and making those a priority and planning for it ahead of time, because it's so easy to get swept up in the busyness of it all. We feel it Don's birthday is October 5th. Mine's the 15th. Harrison's November 10th. Then Thanksgiving comes along, and sometimes we get together with my extended family at that time of year. My sister's got a birthday. You know, you step into Christmas, and then we've got our youngest birthday is January 8th.
8th.
And then our daughter's is in February. Anyways, and I tend to work more around the holidays because I'm a person who covers for other people. And so you can get lost in the shuffle of a whole bunch of things going on and find yourself just running from situation to situation and going to an event, and no one really is enjoying themselves. And it's kind of like, why are we here? Why did we take all our energy and time to do this when no one really wants to be here? And is it something we're doing to be with family, people we care about, or is this just something we can let go of? So kind of thinking about things ahead of time.
What always, with all the things we have going, and the lead of all, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the birthdays, all that stuff, I kind of give it to the analogy of in Monopoly going around, what is it, Park Place and what are the two big,
Boardwalk and Park Place,
like having
very expensive hotels.
Yeah, the hotels on there, and it's that expensive time of year where you go around those different events, and you hope you can get by them. Anyway.
That's an interesting analogy. Yes.
Well,
yes.
number 2 is, and it kind of goes into what we're talking about, is knowing your limitations, how much you can do without, making the event or the holidays miserable. That's one thing. It tends to be one can raise anxieties, and so by overdoing and not knowing your limits, it can really cause a lot of stress over the holidays, and that's one thing you don't want. They really are a time that you need to be relaxed and enjoy.
And I want to point out that the anticipation of fun things can also raise anxieties. We've seen that with our kids with anxiety disorders, that you think getting together to see family, to see cousins, things they look forward to would be fun. And yet even that anticipation of exciting things can make anxieties worse, can make obsessive compulsive disorder worse, can exacerbate so many different things and kind of be a trigger. And so we've got to realize these things and figure out ways to navigate this and not just be like, oh, this is fun, this is exciting, you shouldn't be all anxious about this. This is, this is something we're going to have fun doing. You like doing this. What are you so upset about, right? We think about these things we might say in the moment when we've got all this stuff on our mind, yet we've got to realize that change of any kind can bring stress. It can affect any of us, whether we have a diagnosed disorder or not, and it can affect us all in different ways. Well, not only the actual event, but anticipating it.
Yeah, well, anticipation is a big part of holidays. Anticipating all the fun, all this food, all the the third one is getting your kids involved and that's got to do with planning and thinking through it, and gifts and all of that really is involving everybody in the family with decision making, so that it's not one person stuck with that burden, but also making all the decisions.
Yeah, for some, getting together over a meal and saying, hey, we've got all these different things we've done at the holidays, but sometimes it feels like too much. If your kids are at that age where you could have a family group discussion. Whenever we tried family meetings, it never worked really good, maybe because the age, our older 2 or 4 years apart, and then our youngest is another 7 years. And the very different personalities of our older 2. You can also sit down individually with people, to kind of talk through with each one. There's different ways to do it, to get them involved, and to maybe even put them in charge of something that they want to do. I know my mom would bake at the holidays, and I was the sifter. I got to sift the flour. I'm sure that was partly keeping me busy. And as Don knows, when I bake, it tastes good, but it makes a mess.
Yeah. Excellent food, but the cleanup is a bit much. So number 4 is now in the Tuesday tips, I mark it as doing the tapping process, but really what it's talking about is finding ways to handle the anxiety, to handle the stress, handle the anticipation of Christmas coming, finding different ways to be able to handle that. And tapping, of course, is one way to do that, but there's also breathing, getting out, getting exercise, getting outside. Um, Other thoughts, Gina?
Yes. We have all these tools in our tool chest, but we don't always use them. Movement, when we're stuck in our brain and we're anxious or upset, not only is our brain stuck, but our body often freezes. And one way to help move out of that is to just move. I often strongly encourage my kids to get moving. We got a trampoline for that purpose when they were little. I used to pick them up by their feet and they do a wheelbarrow walk. And sometimes if they were in really a heightened state, I kind of had to initiate it and then get them doing it. And the proprioceptive input is calming to the system, but it's also got to be something that they like. So there's that balance of stepping in to help, but also being that example of using these skills, getting maybe in some traditions of morning breathing or yoga or anything. Take care of yourself and invite your family members to join you. Don't force them. You can be that example by just doing it for yourself, because if you can keep yourself calm, you can handle the different stress levels. So I think it's important to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others. So thinking about those things, what can you do? How can you incorporate things like EFT, breathing techniques, yoga, taking family walks, whatever, that can be a kind of grounding exercise and a way of helping to lower the stress reaction.
Well, and I think getting them involved in making decisions, wrapping presents, doing chores, things like that also can get them active so they're not sitting around with their whole time just thinking about stuff. One quick one, I remember one stress reliever for in the cars, how you would find toys they hadn't played with and sometimes get them gifts to wrap up and they'd open them on a long trip, so
Yeah, you could do that at home too. Yeah, when they were, I don't know. I think I did it when Abby was maybe 2 or 3. And yeah, I got this idea from somewhere and I took, some things were new things, but a lot of it was just at that age, toys they had, and I'd wrap them up and just the excitement of getting something to unwrap. So you think about it, what is those calendars called? The Advent calendar, where you open up a box each day of the week. We've done where we make countdown to Christmas.
The rings,
there's a name for that.
Chain, like a chain.
Yes, we put the paper chain together. We've done it both where we make the chain and we take one off leading up to Christmas. We've done it leading up to a vacation. And we've also done where we write something we're grateful for and we add to the chain. I kind of liked when we did that one. So each day we added a new chain on, making it longer and longer and longer as we got towards that holiday. And then we had this nice big chain, and we might still have that one.
Well, sometimes we would wrap it around the tree, or we'd hang it up and all that. So, all right, number 5 is don't rush the kids, and this kind of goes for really any event that you're at, is giving them time to both accolade to and accolade from an event, so that talking to them before you go somewhere about time frame, how long are we planning to stay there? When are we going to leave? Kind of presetting that, but I'll let you take it from there, Gina.
Yeah, kind of knowing ahead of time and knowing your kids. Some kids really need a heads up of this is how long we're going to be somewhere. Some kids, when you say, okay, we're leaving, they're like, okay, and they're at the door. You said we were leaving. Why aren't we leaving now? You're still talking. I know with some of our kids, getting to an event early was helpful before we were going somewhere with lots of people. she got overwhelmed by the number of people. And so it helped to get there earlier, to have that adjustment time and to be there when it was a little bit quieter and figure out space of what we were going to do and where we could go if we got overwhelmed, and kind of having those conversations to make a plan. And if you have a partner, tag teaming with them so that when you've got especially young kids or really kids of any age who are dealing with added anxiety or stress, you want to enjoy yourself too, right? And your kids are tugging on your sleeve saying, I'm done. They're texting you, I want to go home. I don't like this. I'm hungry. I can't go in the kitchen. There's too many people, right? You've got all these things going on that you're juggling, and you just want to hang out with these people maybe and enjoy yourself. And so you can tag team with your partner. And if you're a single parent, finding other methods of doing that. Do you have another family member that you trust or another friend that you can help each other out with, like, okay, you're on kid duty for the next 30 minutes and then I'll take over, to kind of swap that time and to
Grandparents are good for that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and when I always liked and this is something I think you didn't design, but you used to do the countdown method. You'd start out, we have 15 minutes before we go, we have 10 minutes before we go, we have 5 minutes, so that you wind them down to it instead of just coming in and going, let's go. So that's another technique
that worked. Yeah, our oldest really needed that. He needed that help with those transition times. I have memories, I'm pretty sure, of our youngest when I said it's time to go, and they're like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm not really ready.
You weren't ready to. Number 6, and it kind of falls into it, is respecting your child's feelings. Understanding. Like, I think you used the example before about if as an adult, how would you like to be taken out, from out of your office? Say, there's a meeting now, go, and ripped out of your office. It wouldn't be very pleasant, even though that does happen. That's not something and so with kids, you've got to respect their feelings when they're, especially during the holidays, their anxiety levels and stress levels can be quite high because of the anticipation, because of just the holiday feelings that are going on.
Change, being outside of routine, they're out of school, anything out of the ordinary, whether it's exciting or not, that just any kind of change like that is going to add to that. And understanding your child on how they deal with those things and what coping strategies work for them, and having systems in place and realizing, our kids are constantly changing. They're growing and developing until they're in their late 20s. And as adults, we're still growing and changing. Yet, for minors, at different ages, they can handle different things and different stages that they're going through. And we have to be flexible enough to realize developmentally, okay, this is appropriate for this age. And yet this setting, is not conducive to having a 2-year-old there. So what can I do? What do I need to do? And to not take my child somewhere and expect them to behave in a way that is not natural for them to behave. Maybe at home you have everything up and safe where your 2-year-old can run around and not get into trouble, and you go to someone's house where they've got really nice fancy things. I'm having a memory of going to your friends in Mississippi, and I want to say our youngest was 2, and everything was decorated really pretty, and there were just really pretty nice glasses and things around, and I walked around just worried she was going to break something. And so knowing these things ahead of time, and when we get busy, it can be so easy to kind of get lost in our own drama, right? Especially if you're families and you've got your own, everyone's got some degree of family drama around the holidays and things, and that can trigger at your feelings. Yet we've got these little people, and even, when they're teens and in their early 20s, they've got their own stuff going on, and their feelings are just as valid. What stresses them is different than what stresses us, yet it's just as valid. And we need to start by acknowledging and respecting feelings.
Well, number 7's a big one. It's about eating right, which is exceptionally difficult during the holidays, because you've got all I even talked about my mom's pies and cookies and all that stuff. I think it's important that we we don't stress over, over the fact of eating some things that aren't the best for us, cookies or whatever, but learning to be able to do things differently in our eating process.
I got a couple of thoughts on this one. So I remember when our older kids were little, and I remember saying they could have a little bit of candy at the holidays, and because we tried to avoid the food dyes. And then every time I turned around, there was a new holiday. So then I said, okay, Mom, just do chocolate candy. That way we're avoiding the food dyes. So that was easy. Okay, she could get some chocolate candy, right? Because we had kids who were sensitive to food dyes. And they're, our kids might have these sensitivities and we might not see it because they might not normally eat these foods. Well, okay, and it's the holidays. We're going to let them have something they don't normally have. And maybe we're letting them have several things they don't normally have. And this can be triggers to it. So there's different things I've done over the years. I mean, I'm a big baker and I'm a big fan of making things so my kids don't feel left out. Like, oh, I can't eat this because I can't eat dairy or I can't eat gluten or whatever it is. And making similar items that are enjoyable. And there's ways to add nutrition in them and minimize sugar, use other things that are naturally sweet like applesauce and banana, but you can add in ground up spinach and other nutrients and things that you can add to your items to make them more nutritious. The other thing, so bringing some of your own goodies to share. And it can be really helpful to feed your family before you go to an event with food so that they're not over hungry. Even like going out to a meal at a restaurant, young kids, that's a long time to order the food and wait. And I remember there was a holiday we did, and it was around 2 p.m. where we had a meal, and our kid didn't eat much, and he's maybe 3. And I'm like, we don't normally eat at 2 p.m. That's not in mealtime. Our kid was used to eating at noon and at like 6. And they're like, why aren't they eating? And but also you can have the opposite where they're so over hungry and we can overindulge. And so having a snack, having food to eat before we go, getting the healthy nutrients in so that we're not, and also, finding a way if you have food restrictions or whether it's allergies or, your kid is sensitive or there's, things you don't normally eat at home, finding a way to have some fun, new, different things that you make at the holidays. And I mean, there's websites you can get candy canes that don't have corn in them, that don't have food dyes. I mean, that was the trickiest one. We were avoiding corn, food dyes, gluten, dairy, and then also minimizing sugar. I found Zollipops that are xylitol-based sweetener that can actually be helpful to your teeth as long as you're not sensitive to xylitol. So realizing all these different factors that can have an impact and what can you do so they still feel included. One of our kids would say, I just feel left out. I can't eat this and I can't eat that. And I remember at Halloween, I would make my own peanut butter cups so that they would be dairy free. And, I'd make them for myself with almond butter and instead of peanut butter. I try to avoid peanut butter and finding ways to do things, whether, if someone likes to bake and they're willing to try new recipes, inviting them to do that. Now you can order online, just all kinds of different alternative food items and things, and getting your kids involved to make something. Maybe they want to try a creation and giving them that space to do it, to make it, to mess up, and maybe it doesn't come out right. It can be a learning experience and allowing for the time to do that. So I kind of talked about a whole lot of things there around food there.
Well, I think too, it's probably would be important too to kind of let the people know that you're going to visit or ahead of time, that those are some of the issues that they have, whatever the issue might be, whatever the food sensitivity might be. Not that they have to necessarily make something different, but to know that one, that they may not eat some of the things that they put out, and so that it's not insulting, and 2, that you may bring some of your own food, and kind of letting people know ahead of time that that's the situation. So
yeah, because some people are fine with that, and sometimes it can be looked at as insulting to not
Yeah.
eat the food that's being served. But listen, we have, food allergies. Some people don't understand the word food sensitivity, or they don't know what these things mean. But, um, sometimes it's simple to say my child has an allergy,
Yeah.
to this item or whatever. And they have issues when they're eating things that their body's not used to, whatever. I'd like to bring something. What can I bring? I
Yeah.
just want to let you know that. And yeah, it's having those conversations ahead of time, right? Whether it's with your family and friends that you're going to visit, with your own children. And the other thing would be giving them that opportunity if they're in a calm enough place, of saying, okay, let's, let you try something that you don't normally have and see how you feel with it. I did that with our youngest. It wasn't a holiday or anything, but it was this drink. It had a couple different ingredients that we don't normally have. And she, oh my goodness, it had quite an impact on her. And she didn't like how she felt. And so that kind of gave her the example of, okay, this is why mom has me avoid these different ingredients in this supposedly natural drink. It had some, I don't know, it was preservatives. I can't even remember the items, but
Just make sure to bring.
her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just say make sure to bring some digestive enzymes with you.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is there's ways to help our systems to handle when we're eating things we don't typically eat. So yes, there's lots of different options.
All right, number 8 is don't overdo travel. And it's kind of in the planning part we talked about of, because we tend to overextend in time and in energy and all that when we talk about traveling. Oh, we've got to see grandma and grandpa. We got to go to Uncle Joe's, and we've got to make sure to see my friend. And we got so many things we try to pile into and not really, we don't think about the time factor of the travel time. We don't think about the stress of having to get in and out of the car. If we're going to be staying at somebody else's house during the thing, that means repacking, unpacking, all of that. So you have to really be careful to kind of plan that out so that you're not overdoing it.
Yeah, I've heard people say, "Oh, holidays so stressful. Like I'm so glad they're over." These different statements, and thinking about the way you're doing things, what message are you sending to your kids? Are your kids going to grow up hating the holidays because you were so stressed out and you felt like you had to go and see all these people, or you were going to upset this person if you didn't go to their thing and stuff? And sometimes we need to be more selfish. We need to be like, okay, what impact is this going to have on me, my partner, my kids? Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to go to this and you guys don't have to, and it's okay to make those choices and to tell people no, as much as it might feel difficult because you've always done this. You've always gone to this person's house, this person's house, this person. We've always done it that way. People expect me to do it, and they're going to be offended if I don't. Yet, what's the long-term effect? What are the consequences here? Are you setting yourself up for just aggravation and disappointment, and setting your kids up to hate going to certain relatives' houses because it's this forced environment of what you have to do, and we're exhausted and we'd really rather go do something else? So
yeah, and what you did as a single or just as a couple versus when you become parents and have a family is very different too. So you don't want to plan your traveling based on what you did as a single person, or so. All right, well, 9 and 10 kind of play together. 9 is remembering what the holiday is really, or this time is about. Whether, like Gina said, however you celebrate it. If you celebrate holidays of any sort during this time, at any point, any holiday, remember what it's really about. I think it's about people getting together. It's about friendships. It's about enjoyment. It's about joy and just enjoying time with other people, with your family, and not getting so wrapped up into the have to do's and the eating and all the other stuff, but putting your time. I remember at a certain point, I think it was after my father had passed, that we started recommending to my mom, hey, why don't we just, get some food from, like get somebody to either like not, I don't know about cater, but we bring food in instead of having her make all of the food. So we would spend more time together versus having to worry about cooking and baking and all of that. So just and the number 10 was to laugh and to breathe, which plays into this too, as far as relaxing.
And thinking about things. So with my brother being in Pennsylvania, and my parents were in Pennsylvania for a while till they moved closer to us, we would rotate getting together around Thanksgiving or around Christmas, and we kind of would celebrate everything. And we have a couple birthdays around that, so we'd celebrate the birthdays too. And we started doing some kind of service project kind of things. We went to a nursing home one year. My sister has dogs that are great kind of therapy dogs, and we took the dogs in and went to visit people. One year we did like a Toys for Tots, and we took our young children and they picked out toys to give away and for another child, and engaging them in that sense of giving. We one year we were up in Pennsylvania when my brother and sister-in-law were still together, and we went to someplace that bought and wrapped gifts for people who couldn't afford. It was to kind of be Santa for their kids. And we went there, and our kids were young, like Santa was still a thing, but we wrapped the gifts up for them. And as a family, we did the wrapping of the gifts together, and just thinking about doing projects like that together that add meaning to what you're doing, whether you're playing a holiday game together. Last year, we got a murder mystery dinner game. So we kids that are, youngest is a teenager and the others are in their 20s, the cousins, and we all took on different roles and we played this murder mystery game. And it was so much fun to do something different and just had something good to laugh about and engage in together, and keeping that in mind. So I was needing to wrap up here soon.
Yeah. I guess, these tips are really just to help kind of slow the holiday down and get back to really enjoying it and finding ways to eat right, to get people involved, to allow time to do things, and don't crunch in so much stuff into a holiday that you don't really enjoy it.
We can't really slow down the holidays, but we can slow down our minds. We can slow down ourselves. We can remember what matters and to take our time with things. And, these are good reminders for me as well, as we think about these things. And we hope it's been helpful to you, kind of thinking through these things. Is there any more thoughts? Don's got the list at his location.
I mean, just check us out, Focused Healthy Family. We're on Facebook. We are at Instagram, gina.focusedhealthyfamily. You can find all our podcast information, our blogs, our programs, all of that stuff at Focused Healthy Family. And
if you enjoyed these tips, you can sign up for Tuesday tips, either getting an email. Every Tuesday, we put out an email and a short podcast, like 15 minutes or less, of a tip, like these 10 tips that we covered. We gave these out at a holiday time, one at a time over the weeks. So check that out if you're interested in that. And look forward to our classes coming up in January, and do connect with us. And we'd love your feedback and comments. Share this podcast with a friend, get the word out, so we can grow our audience and have more conversations with all of you.
And remember, how you speak to your kids today shapes their future and yours.